Winding Stairs, a program dedicated to Masonic education and the art of self-improvement. I'm your host, Juan Sepulveda, and I thank you for taking the time to join me on this journey up the winding stairs. Today, I have a special treat. We are privileged to have with us Brother Robert Patrick Lewis. He's a former Green Beret, one of the United States Army Special Forces. And during his time in service, Robert was deployed to Iraq, Africa, and Afghanistan, and many other locations. In 2012, he published the book titled Love Me When I'm Gone, which is described as a true story of life, love, and loss. Robert's new book is The Pact. It's his first venture into the world of fiction, and it's inspired by his life experiences as well as the knowledge he's acquired through his life. Robert, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Winding Stairs.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.
Thank you. We've been talking about this for a while. I'm glad that finally we get a chance to sit down and have a conversation. It's good to have you here.
I'm glad we could finally get it worked out.
So I wanted to touch on several topics. I've been following your work for several years now. I'm very proud of the accomplishments you've had, the success you've had with your books. But to start from the beginning of the journey that I know of you, could you tell us a little bit more about when did you become interested in the military?
Yeah, it's just been a part of my life as long as I can remember. I come from a long line of military men, so as far back as we can trace, all the men in my family have been military, and my stepsister, and so now the females are also getting in the military. So it's just been something that's always been in my family. I was actually the first guy in my family that wasn't going to go in. I got in some trouble when I was a kid. If you read Love Me When I'm Gone, it talks a little bit about my mom died, and I kind of went out the deep end. I got in some trouble, and I winded up in military school when I was a kid, and it wasn't really a great experience. So when it came time, my dad went to the Merchant Marine Academy, and I had other family members who'd gone to the service academies. So to do that, when you get to your senior year of high school, you got to have a senator basically recommend you if you want to go to like the Naval Academy or West Point or something like that. And so my dad and I sat down, and he went, "You're not going to go to the military, are you?" And I went, "No, no." That's not. And so I didn't. I was the first guy to go to civilian college, and I was having a good old time playing lacrosse in a fraternity, all that good stuff. 9/11 happened my sophomore year, and so that's when I said, "Okay, I guess that's my sign." And so I went and I signed up as soon as I could.
Wow, that's amazing. I've heard several stories of men that was the catalyst that actually made them make that decision. They had thought about it or had some influence in the past that was moving them in that direction, but that was that moment where they took the responsibility to do something about it. That's admirable.
Yeah, well, and it's very interesting to see the diversity within the Army and especially Special Forces after September 11th. A lot of people, a lot of critics of the military and of the war will say, we're only sending the poor to war, and only the uneducated that have no other options join the military. But I went through the Q course, which is the training portion of Special Forces, with a guy that had his master's degree in microbiology, lawyers. A guy that had owned a brokerage, so a stockbroker that was in the Twin Towers. He was down in Miami for work on 9/11. All of his friends and everybody that he worked with died. And so same thing, the next week he joined the military and went into Special Forces. And there's a really good kind of makeup of a lot of people that had that same, they were doing whatever they were doing. Maybe they were athletically inclined, but very patriotic people that was, like you said, the catalyst where they just said, no, that's no, I'm not going to let that stand.
Wow. And you mentioned that you were involved in sports. Was that like that all your life? You always were involved in sports?
Yeah, I was a very athletic kid. I came from a family where I was just encouraged. They really liked teamwork, and, it's not like they ever tried to push me to be a professional athlete or anything, but they wanted me, like everything else, sports, food, education, reading, try everything, and then see if there was something that really stuck. And so, I mean, my entire life, when I was younger, I was a swimmer. I was a state level swimmer. I played lacrosse. I played football. I played baseball. I ran track. I just had a lot of energy to get out, and I was just, I don't know, I really enjoyed teamwork. I really enjoyed that kind of environment. And so I had a lot of fun.
And how about competitiveness? Was that part of you and the family?
Yeah. Well, my family, yeah, they were pretty competitive, but they were very distinct about making sure it was all about fun. And that's the thing in Texas, playing football in Texas, even as a kid, there definitely becomes a point where it stops becoming fun, and you can see people that are trying to get into college for playing football and people that want to go professional and all that. And I don't know, my parents were always really good about just making sure that I was doing it for the right reasons and having a good time.
That's very good, because a lot of people, they might not give themselves the opportunity to enjoy the things that they see themselves doing, and it just becomes a chore for a chore for the rest of their life. Is this constant thing they're dragging, and it's not something they're really embracing and enjoying.
Yeah, and especially a game, especially something like sports, you really got to enjoy it. And I had that conversation with my girlfriend's daughter yesterday when I was taking her to school. Actually, we were talking about work. I was on my way to work, and she was saying, "I don't like work. That doesn't sound like fun. I don't ever want to work." And I said, "No. The whole point. You go to school, you do very good, and then you find a job that you love. And so it's not really work. If you're going to an office and doing something you love every day for the rest of your life, that's awesome, especially if you can get paid a lot of money for it."
That's right. That's funny. I was talking to my one of my kids this morning about that, about working hard and why people have to work.
Yeah.
And it's good, that
explain to a kid.
It is, yes, because they want to play, but when you make that distinction that work can become the play for the adults. That could be that moment. If you still enjoy, you still derive the same kind of benefits from it. It can lead to very good results.
I think as long as you do it right, that's the thing, and that's why I really credit my parents for making sure I expanded my horizons and I tried everything out there. Because if you don't try it at all, you really don't know what you really like. And I really feel sorry for people that are miserable in their jobs and just hate what they're doing, because that's like torture, So you really, once you find something you like, figure out how to do it, and that way you can spend the rest of your life doing something you enjoy doing.
That's right. Do it the best that you can.
Yep.
Now, I presume that in order for you to be able to, after joining the military, go down the course of being placed or earning a place within the special forces, it takes a very particular set of qualities from a man or a woman. Could you give us an idea of what type of qualities helped you to achieve that particular type of goal?
Yeah, that's the whole point of selection. So the first thing you go to, and all special operations have their own version of it. The SEALs have BUDS, Green Berets, we have what's called selection. And there's essentially, I think BUDS is 2 weeks long, selection is a month long. I can't remember how long the Rangers is, the PJs have their own thing. But it's essentially a month where you go and they just test you and make sure you are exactly what they're looking for, physically, mentally, psychologically. And the one thing that I've seen the most that really is the one quality to look for, stubbornness. Really, I think being stubborn. And it's a lot deeper than that, but in all reality, it is this idea that I know whatever I'm going to do is uncomfortable or painful, or maybe I just don't like doing it. But I understand that what's at the end of this is more important to me than this pain I'm going to go through right now, or this uncomfort I'm going to go through right now. And that really is what selection is. No matter how it, no matter which branch you're in, it's just looking for that person that can go, delayed gratification. Okay, this is, but I really want what's at the end of this. So whatever, bring it on. Let's do it. And you just don't give up. One foot in front of the other.
That's powerful stuff right there. Especially as a parent, I'm sure you can identify that different kids have different ways of learning. Yeah. And I had a conversation with a friend the other day talking about some of the qualities that describe men who have achieved incredible things in life. Some of those qualities are stubbornness, hard-headedness, dedication, defiance, nonconformity. And these are a lot of qualities that we try to snuff in children. And if we are wise about it and we can recognize that instead of completely suppressing those qualities, but instead capitalizing upon them, we can give that child an opportunity to become something incredible in the future. I think that would change a lot of people.
Yeah, it really is a shame because the way that our education system is built, it doesn't really foster that. It's not built at finding what one person's talents are and fostering and making sure that we enhance their talents. It's kind of a lowest common denominator, doing these all, standardized testing. And rather than making certain people shine, it kind of brings everybody down a little bit. And unfortunately, on such a massive scale, you can't do something like that. You really can't pay individual attention too much unless you get to private school or charter schools or whatever. But it really is. I mean, if you could do that, I think it would make for a much better society.
Oh, absolutely. Now, talking to men that are still growing, still developing, pretty much this is a journey that it takes our whole life for us to try to achieve that ultimate version of ourselves. What advice would you have for them to help them have that drive to become the best version of themselves?
I think that's the biggest thing is don't give up. Surround yourself with the right people. Accountability is a huge thing. And, it's kind of un-PC in our society today to hold people accountable or require accountability. But that's another thing, in Special Forces to make it through and to really be good. You have to, selection is all based on just you. You're the army of one going through and they throw you out in the middle of the woods and you got to walk, 100 miles with 100 pounds on your back. And you're accountable to yourself, right? You really do some gut checking and say, do I really want to do this? If I do this, I have to hit these objectives, and you have to hold yourself accountable. Then you get to a team, which is the functional unit of Special Forces, and you're accountable to the other guys on your team. It's just like sports. It's just like teamwork, where if I don't do my job, the other guys on the team could very well die. I was a medic. So if as a medic, I don't have the right medicine or I don't know the right dosages or I don't know the right treatment, somebody on my team could very well die. And so they have to hold me accountable to make sure that I'm up on my stuff, that I know what I'm doing, that I'm paying attention. And that is the thing my dad used to always say, it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, but do the best job you possibly can, right? So it doesn't matter if you're digging ditches or doing quantum mechanics or doing brain surgery, whatever it is that you are doing, do the best job you possibly can because you're going to be judged by that. And it doesn't matter how small it is. And again, if you really want to judge somebody's character, look at the minutia, look at the little things they do and see how they approach those, because people that pay a lot of attention and do very good things, they're going to do that throughout all of their life. And it's just something that only comes through accountability from others and from yourself.
That's very good advice. That's very good advice. And it's one of those things that touches upon another of the subjects that I wanted to talk about, and it's brotherhood. How important it is, that component of brotherhood in Special Forces in order for you to be able to achieve your missions and bring everybody back home in the process.
It's probably one of the most important functions, and that's the reason a team is built a little bit differently from the rest of the Army. The rest of the military, traditionally, you stay in a certain place for about 2 years and then you move around. You move around constantly. The whole idea is that if I'm a private in one unit and I get promoted to sergeant and I'm in charge of people now, they don't want me to ever have to send my friends on a suicide mission, right? So as a leader, at some point you have to make a very tough call and send people on missions that are very, very dangerous. And it's just not a good idea from the Army's perspective, from a leadership perspective, to have to put somebody in the position to make that decision when it's their friend. So they move them around a lot so you don't spend a whole lot of time in one unit. But in Special Forces, it's the exact opposite. They want a team to stay together as long as possible. They want you to get to the point, we eat, we breathe, we work out together, we drink together, we play together, we train together and everything, because we need to get to the point of operational effectiveness where I know what every other member on my team is thinking. I know in the back of my mind, if somebody gets hit, that guy's allergic to penicillin. That guy, you know, has this allergy, or this guy is this, and this guy's allergic to morphine. Or we need to know that. I need to know if there's 10 of us going into a building that has, you know, 50 rooms, a big warehouse. I need to know exactly what these guys are going to do on the 10th room in. We've been going at this for 45 minutes. I need to know that. And so that cohesion, that brotherhood, that ability for us to function as one organic, living, breathing unit is imperative. It's extremely important. And that's why a lot of special forces guys, that's why they have so much background in sports, because teamwork is it's the thing that fosters that. It's what really brings that idea and definition of brotherhood together and allows us to operate on that level.
That's wonderful. I really like the as you're telling me this, I am drawing these parallels with the other aspects of our life, the things that we do. In particular, we both have an affinity for business and for marketing, and we might feel that we are solid in one knowledge, or that we are comfortable with one particular aspect of our business. But if we alienate ourselves and we don't actually have that unity, that brotherhood, and that connection with a group of other people, then the results of what we accomplish are minuscule in contrast with what we would be able to achieve if we were all working as an organism, as a unit.
Right. It just helps you move further and progress faster. You know, if you have 10 people working on something rather than just one, you're going to make a lot more developments and improvements, because you have so many different people that are working on things, and they approach things in their own different way, and they see it through a different set of eyes. And by having that unity and that brotherhood and being able to help each other out, it helps advance us further.
That leads me to the next question that I have. How did your Masonic journey begin?
You know, I've always been a guy that was interested in conspiracy theories and things like that. You know, out of my entire life, you know, from as far back as I can remember, being a little kid, used to check out books from the library on UFOs and conspiracy theories and crazy. I mean, everything in the world you can think of. I mean, even from, you know, 7 or 8 years old, I remember my first books being books on ghosts and UFOs and things like that. And as I got older, it just seemed that every road that I started to go down and read ended somehow in Masonry. Ended in, you know, some things about Masons either holding the keys or the secrets, or, you know, on the other Alex Jones style conspiracy theories being the culprits behind everything. And so I'd been interested, and I had, you know, wondered how in the world I ever became a Mason. A lot of the guys in my family were Masons. You know, if you go back in my biological family, some of the first Masons on the East Coast in the United States were some of my family up in North Carolina. And I had always just kind of thought at some point in my life, somebody was going to come up to me and go, hey, okay, it's time for us to go. Like, now is the time you become a Mason. And it never happened, right? And then my grandpa died. And I remember my dad mentioning just some different things about it, and never really putting that much credit, because my dad was kind of the broken link in the chain. My dad wasn't a Mason, but everybody else was. And I actually called the Scottish Rite. I called the office of the temple in Washington, D.C., and I got on the phone with the secretary, and I started going, hey, you know, I'm such and such, and I'm related to such and such. My grandpa was this, my great grandpa was this, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, somebody was supposed to come tell me, but I guess they forgot. And, you know, how do I do this? And she went, son, it doesn't matter who you're related to. It doesn't matter who you are or whatever. Find a lodge near you, go and have dinner, talk to the guys. There you go. And I went, are you kidding me? It's that easy.
That's it?
So the next week, the following Tuesday, I went to a stated meeting at my lodge at LA 42 in Santa Monica, California, and the rest is history.
Nice. That's very good. I have very few, well, I have one relative that I know that was a Mason, and I always had that separation, and I've mentioned this in other podcasts, where I knew that I wanted to know, but I felt like maybe I shouldn't ask. And it's the contrary. It's like, you actually have to go ask. And when I felt any resistance or any, okay, we'll talk later, I felt like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be asking about this kind of stuff. So
That's,
But
that's the funny thing about it, and about kind of popular culture and all the different things that you hear about it, is it makes you a little kind of apprehensive and nervous. And I remember when I turned in my my stuff, my first application, and when they were doing my background check, I just remember being on pins and needles, like, oh my God, am I okay? Like, being in the military, is that a bad thing? Or, and there's a lot of things that you second guess. Now being on the other side of it, you look at it and go, that's kind of ridiculous.
yeah.
But it's the way that it is,
Yeah, you start thinking, oh, what could it be? Why is it taking so long? Well, because everything takes long here. That's excellent. Brother, do you have any lessons that you have come across in Masonry that really have made a difference in your military life or even in your business life? Anything that has served as a catalyst to make real changes in those other aspects of your life?
The idea of dividing your time, of dividing your day, and ensuring that you actually divide it for the different aspects of your life. A guy like me, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a workaholic. That's just the way that I am. I always have objectives that I feel that I need to accomplish, and I set those objectives pretty high on purpose. And every time I set one, as soon as I reach one, I set another one. I have to set the bar higher and higher and higher, because I don't believe in treading water. I just do not think it's a good idea to ever sit still, right? You should always be moving onward and upward. And when I heard the lesson on dividing your time and started to learn that, it really made a lot of sense. And that was one of the things that really made me sit down and go, wow, okay, so I've heard this my entire life, but if they're putting this in a degree lecture, it's probably pretty important. And so I started to actually do that, and divide my time and make sure I pay more attention to refreshment. I used to sleep 4 or 5 hours a night and just work nonstop. And that was the first time where I kind of went, okay, I should get some rest, and make sure I dedicate time to my family, that another 8 hours to my family. And I tell you, it's made a significant change in my life. I had 2 kids. I was adopted, and I lost my mom when I was a kid, and so I had just kind of felt that a man's job is to provide everything that you could and just work, 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 work. And again, when I heard the dividing your time lecture, it's what made me realize, like, it doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world to give your kids. If they don't know you and you're not there to spend time with them, nothing else matters. And so that really, it made a stark difference in my life. And also the Beehive. The Beehive lecture is a big one for me. I wrote an article in Midnight Freemasons about it, about specifically how I think it matters to entrepreneurs and veterans. So those are probably the most significant ones that I have seen that have made a pretty big impact on my life.
I agree with that very much. That these are, even though all the steps, all the words, all the move have something to contribute to people, we will find those nuggets that we've been needing to hear that are going to make a big difference in what we actually do.
Right.
Brother, you've been very generous with your time. I really appreciate it. I want to speak to one of the things that you mentioned about setting those goals and setting one right after and higher. When you published your book, Love Me When I'm Gone, in 2012, it felt like a month went by and you were already talking about another book. To me, at least, it felt like that. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. How did he do that? How did he get a book out so fast? But it explains that, how that process seems to be a result of that whole setting goals one after the other, higher and higher, right?
Yeah, it is. And I'm very methodical in the way that I do things. I take a lot of notes. And so, one thing that I'm very big on is whenever I have an idea, I write it down, right? So I use Google Drive. I have a notebook with me 24 hours a day. And I just jot stuff down. So I have 30 plus books outlined at this point where I got an idea, I sit down, I flesh it down, I have the outline. I just don't have time to sit down and write them all. So I had Love Me When I'm Gone, which is my nonfiction. I have the Pact series that I'm working on now. I have 2 other series of books that are already outlined that are more of the Tom Clancy route. And I have a couple of lines of business books and actually a family-oriented series of books that I'm writing. The first one is towards my son. and it's called Words from a Father. It's actually just words of advice, and that's just the way that I am. I'm very methodical in taking notes and putting stuff out. And again, I finish a book, done, dusted, edited. Once it's out, I give myself a day, and then the next day, hey, start on your new project. And just
nice.
Get it.
That's admirable. I really enjoy that. I like that very much, and I hope that the brothers that listen and see this interview, they take something from what you've said. We're talking about managing your time correctly. We're talking about setting goals. We're talking about having dedication and finding what you really enjoy doing and doing it the best that you can. Brother, you've given us very great value here. For the brothers that want to learn more about the books, especially the Pact, which you've been promoting regularly recently, where can they go to find out more about it?
So all the books are available on Amazon. They're all on Audible and iTunes, Barnes & Noble, things like that. Love Me When I'm Gone, I narrated myself. The Pact book was narrated by Mike Dawson from the Adam Carolla Show. They each have their own websites. So there's lovemewhenimgone.com, thepactbook.com. I also have my own website, robertplewis.com, that kind of ties everything together because I've got different things going on, and just I love websites. So I've got a bunch of different websites, and that one has links to everything all kind of tied together. So robertplewis.com is my big one.
Okay, so robertplewis.com would point people to all the other different projects.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. That's the place to go if you want to stay in touch with the Robert and find out what the next projects that are coming of his design. Make sure that you go to his website. And once again, brother, thank you very much for your time and for joining us. And I hope you join us again next time.
Hey, brother, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And brothers, make sure that you go over to his website. I will have links to all the books and all the websites in the show notes, as well as in the video description. So go there for that. And thank you again for joining us. And until next time, may your steps be firm and your path illuminated as we continue our journey up the winding stairs.